Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome everybody to our quick, well, somewhat quick, fairly brief presentation on basically what to expect in about the next month of finalizing things for Fulbright. So we're going to talk through finalizing your application and then the next couple steps in the campus application process, and then how we get from the campus application process to actually submitting through the Fulbright application portal for the Fulbright national deadline in October. So this is a quick overview of the workshop.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Points to know. The campus deadline, I hope you all know this by now. I hope you have known it for quite a while. The campus deadline is 2 weeks from today. It is on Thursday, September 4th by 3 p.m. that day. We'll go through the submission instructions and the sort of checklist you need to keep in mind for that today. We will talk about the interview that happens after you submit everything for the campus deadline. The campus interviews are basically a month from today, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Then final steps to polish your proposal, and basically just what to expect from here through the end of the process. So at any point during this, if you have questions, those of you who are here, feel free to just ask them, drop it in the chat, take yourself off mute, and just ask your questions. I want to make sure that you all feel comfortable, that you know what is coming up. So first, we'll just make sure everybody knows what they're doing for the essays. Fortunately, you don't have to do a whole lot of actual formatting these days because it's just basically a paste into a text box, and you cannot format anyway. So don't worry about it. You don't have any choice about font or size, things like that. But you do want to make sure that, like, the way you're pasting into the box, it'd be good if you have, maybe not, I don't know if you can do hard paragraph breaks, but make sure your paragraphs aren't just like bleeding into each other. Make sure that you're not getting cut off partway, that the 6,000 characters or 3,000 characters, as Word is counting it on your machine, is the same as how they are counting it in the text box that you will load things into. So like, make sure your last sentence isn't getting cut off. And also just make sure you copied and pasted the whole thing you went to. Just to go through that again, if you're for your statement of grant purpose, ETA applicants, you have 3,000 characters to work with. Study research applicants, you have 6,000 characters to work with. I am sure by now you are all acutely aware of that because Bonnie and I have told you that so many times. And I think most of you who are showing us stuff have also been including like your character counts because we're all very aware of that this time.
Yes.
You all have the same lengths for the short answer essays. Flexibility and adaptability is 2,000 characters. Community engagement is also 2,000 characters. Impact of the Fulbright Award is 1,000 characters. So as you know, as you have found out in the summer, that space goes quickly. Again, just make sure everything is pasting over carefully, that it all looks like you want it to look, that it's transferring between your word processing document and the application in however way you want it to. You do not need spaces between paragraphs, but I think and I don't think you can indent, because like in a text box, if you hit tab, it's going to just go to the next thing in the application. But there might be some ways that you can build in some sort of break. I think you can at least put your cursor at the end of each paragraph and hit Shift Enter, and that should put a soft break in there that will add a little bit of a demarcation between paragraph blocks. Might just make it slightly easier for your reviewers to read it.
If you're just really hard up for characters, that's really where that comes in.
Right.
Really.
Yeah, if you don't, because a paragraph break will be a character. So keep that in mind. Do not include links to external files. They do not want any links in your applications. Again, I suspect if you've been showing us drafts, you don't have any in there because we would have told you not to. But like, you don't need citations. They don't want citations. They definitely do not want hyperlinks in there. And there is no spell check in the application portal. So when you paste it into the Word doc, it's just going to be in there. I mean, not in the Word doc, in the Word box. It's just going to be in there. If you have one built into your browser, it may catch things. If you don't, it won't. So make sure you are doing all of your final spell checking, grammar checking, everything like that before you paste things into the text box in the application. Some of you may have already written your abstract or summary. Some of you may not have. It is the other short answer essay, and it is actually the first thing that reviewers will read in your application. Right after they read the sort of very basic information about who you are and what you are applying for, they will get your proposal overview. So this is the one place in your application that very likely will repeat information. It should. There should not be sort of surprises suddenly in your abstract. But it also shouldn't just be a copy and paste from the other parts of your application. Like you don't just want to be pulling wholesale sections out of your statement of grant purpose and pasting them in here. This is really a place to go ahead and rewrite a clear, concise overview of the what, where, why, and how of your proposed Fulbright activity. Anything to add on that?
If you're kind of stuck on, can everyone hear me? Okay, if you're kind of stuck on where to start with this, a lot of times I have students or applicants start with, give me like a 1-sentence summary of each of your short answers. And then give me for an ETA 3 sentences that wrap up your ETA. And if it's study research, 6 sentences, right? And then take all of those and you should be able to craft some sort of story of what it is you're planning to do, why that matters to you, how you plan to succeed overseas with that ideas in hand. So
yeah,
it's
precisely.
a good jumping off point if you're looking for like, okay, how do I start to crack through this? So.
You can think of it too as though like, if you were just talking with a faculty member this fall and like, oh, I'm applying for a Fulbright. And they said, oh, what are you planning to do? What would you answer to them very quickly? Or, if you want to think about it as sort of like an elevator pitch, somebody just asked you what you've been up to lately, and you're like, oh, I've been working on this Fulbright application. How would you go on and quickly sort of explain what you're proposing to do, where you're proposing to do it, and the why behind it?
And this is, though it's the first thing that reviewers will read, this is typically the last thing that people write because you really have to have an idea of the story you're trying to present with the rest of your application before you can tackle this. So don't feel like, oh, I haven't done it. Like that's fine. That's totally fine right now.
It is something we are happy to look over though as well.
Yeah.
So send those up.
Well, we have office hours tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's a fairly quick thing. This one is limited to 1,750 characters, I believe.
Yes.
They have not updated it, so it is the same length. It always was. It plays the same role in the application. It always has. So it's pretty short. It goes by pretty quickly. And if you haven't written it yet, that's fine, because we wanted you to polish the other parts first. But now you need to write it because it needs to be there for the campus deadline. So on this campus deadline, on really like September 3rd, the day before the campus deadline, you should go ahead and lock your application. So there's an option to lock for campus review. That's what you're going to do. That just means you can't make any more changes to it at the moment because you have it locked. That lets us know that it is in its form where it is ready for review so that we can go into the back end of the application portal and export that as a full PDF. And that is what our campus committee will read through. So you do not submit your application. This really won't confuse many of you because you're not reapplicants for the most part. If you happened to apply 2 years ago, this will be different than it was then. You are not submitting your application, you are just locking it for review. On the day of the campus deadline, September 4th, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will have a Zoom open. It'll be me and Bonnie and Tingy, the new program coordinator for the Office of National Fellowships. The 3 of us will be there. Basically, anytime during that, just drop in. You'll go into a breakout room with one of us, and we'll go through a checklist of your required application components. And basically just check off that, yes, your essays are there, your short responses are there, your recommendations are there, transcripts are uploaded. If you need a letter of affiliation, it's there. If you need a language evaluation, it's there. If all parts that you're required to have for your application are in place, while you're still in that breakout room with us, you'll go ahead and sign up for your interview slot. We are aiming to do all interviews on September 18th. Again, basically probably aiming for like 9 to 3 p.m. Continuous Zoom rooms open. We'll talk a little bit more about what the interviews look like in a moment, but you'll be signing up on September 4th. If you have everything, when you check in your application, you'll be signing up for your interview at that time. If you're missing elements, and absolutely nobody should be missing any elements that they have control over, you should not be missing essays, you should not be missing short responses, you should not be missing transcripts. Those are all in your control. There's really no excuse at this point to not have those by the campus deadline. But inevitably, yeah, maybe one of your recommenders just doesn't get it in on time. Or your letter of affiliation, it can be hard to track down actually getting that on time, particularly because people know that there's another deadline out there. and no matter how much you politely prod, you still may not get it by then. You will not be disqualified. You just will not get first priority in signing up for your interview. So people who are missing elements of their application when you check in with us on the 4th, you'll just get the sign up link for the interview after 3 p.m. that day. And you'll be first come, first serve at that point. You'll just sign up for what's available.
And I do want to point out, those are things that you have control over. If things you don't have control over. If you are missing anything that you have control over, and that includes having your recommenders uploaded into the portal, you will not be signing up for an interview, full stop. So we just want to make that very, very clear. It's one thing to be waiting for others, but if you're still waiting to do stuff, that's not going to hack it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you for laying down the law. I mean, it's
So yeah.
okay, so I just said all that. But
You'll
here's the slide that
we'll
says
have a copy of these slides. That's
Yeah.
So
any questions so far about what to expect on September 4th? Okay, well, for those of you who have your ducks in a row and are able to get signed up for an interview on the 4th, then the next step is the interview, campus feedback sessions. So said on September 18th, we will have Zoom open. We're aiming to do all interviews on September 18th. If you know already right now that that day just does not work for you and you have a legitimate reason that you can explain to us, not just a like, I'm busy, but a like, I am busy with this thing that goes from this time to this time and there's no way I can get out of it, tell us. We will work out some sort of contingency. You will still get an interview. You will still get the elements of the application that come out of the interview. But the sooner you tell us that, the easier we can arrange it. Assuming you do not have any conflicts, you'll have your interview on September 18th. The interviews are not confrontational. They're not scary. They're not a gatekeeping process. They are there to, first and foremost, give our campus committee members the information they need to fill out your campus committee evaluation form, which looks like this. There's a slightly different one for study research or an ETA application, but they're basically the same. And it's a chance for our campus committee to provide a little bit more information about you as an applicant to the reviewers for Fulbright. So they can sort of pull out themes that come out from your application, from your letters of recommendation. They can highlight certain elements. They will also have about 20 to 25 minutes in the interview to assess you and your level of sort of preparation, maturity, how professionally you present yourself, how ready you seem for this experience, how prepared you seem to be able to talk about your country, how genuinely interested in doing this you appear to be. All interviews will take place via Zoom. You'll sign up for a 30-minute slot, but you'll only be in the Zoom room for about 20 to 25 minutes of that. The committee need a few minutes before you get there to switch from the previous person to you to, prepare themselves for talking with you. And then they need a couple minutes at the end to sort of summarize their thoughts on you and for us to assign who is individually writing a CCE form out of each of those sessions. So you should arrive a little early. There'll be waiting rooms. You'll just sit there. That's fine. We'd rather you be early than late. We need to keep these things moving on time because we need to try to fit all of you into these sessions on one day. So if you're late, you're pushing against your own time because we're not going to let you run over. Be prepared overall. Try to have a good place to do this Zoom from. Think about this as almost like, if you were doing a job interview over Zoom. You want to present yourself well. You want to have good lighting. You want to have a good, solid internet connection. You want to make sure your sound is working well. We've had committee members before complain about the fact that a student was like sitting on a couch throughout it, which that is what some people have available, whatever. But like, you don't want to show up wearing your pajamas. Right? Like, get dressed, look nice for it, present yourself well, try to present yourself as maturely and professionally as you can, because that is all part of what they are assessing through this interview. And so the way that you present yourself in an interview, that has a direct relation to how they think you're going to present yourself overseas as an ambassador of the US. And if you show up and act sort of poorly in an interview with the campus committee, they're going to make note of that. And they may not endorse you as warmly as we would like for them to.
prior to COVID, all of these interviews were done in person.
Yeah.
So like, think about what you look like in person, you
Yeah.
could probably try to replicate that.
Make sure you're familiar with everything you put in your application. There's also, because these, as we already talked about, these applications are very brief, right? There's probably lots of stuff you thought about that could not make it into your application. Think about those things too, because you might want to be able to expand on some points. You might want to be able to tell them some things about your project that couldn't make it onto the page. Basically, they're going to ask you questions about, like, why you're interested in that country, what brought you to applying for Fulbright. Talk a little bit more about your project. If you're applying for an ETA, they might want to speak with you a little bit about how teaching factors into either what you've done previously or what you hope to do in the future. They might ask you questions about, like, what, basically how you will act as a representative of the US. How will you answer a question about something like, somebody randomly asking you about, like, hey, what's going on with politics in the US? Or what's up with gun violence in schools? So how would you handle questions like that? Are you familiar with the country you're going to? Can you actually talk about some current events there? Have you been accessing news about the country you're going to? What does your preparation for that side of things look like? Be prepared to discuss all of that. If you haven't done any of that yet, you've got 2 weeks to do it. So do it. If you'd like to practice, the Career Center has the big interview platform that you can use to practice interviews. And there is a specific Fulbright module with sort of Fulbright interview related questions that you can practice answering through the big interview platform. I think Jesse went over and recorded those a couple years ago. So,
Just
So,
like Amy and I.
oh, okay.
They're old.
So you can still interact with Jesse virtually. Questions about campus interviews, anybody? Yeah. Okay.
That part of it.
Yeah. Okay. So continuing ways to be prepared, just again, make sure you've read over and you know what you were saying in your application. But
Right.
also expect them to go beyond what you put in your application.
I'm just gonna, because it's covered for you, but
Okay.
the tip for success there, all of the sessions get recorded. You won't automatically receive a copy, but if you would like a copy, we send like a follow-up email after that, after the session. You can always ask and we can send you a copy of your specific interview. We still encourage you to take notes though during your interview, because it's real easy to forget things in the moment sometimes.
Yeah, and one of us advisors will be in the room with you as well, but it may not be your advisor.
Yeah.
It's just gonna, who knows how it's gonna shake out. We're just each there to moderate. So we are there to make sure things stay on time and that the interview itself stays on track for the sorts of things that it's supposed to be covering. But it may not be your advisor, so like we may not be also sort of making note of things that are said. So again, 2 things are supposed to come out of the interview. The CCE form we already talked about. The second is that this is basically a chance where people who have not yet read your application are approaching it with fresh eyes. So they may have things that they say, oh, you explained this a lot better in the interview than it's coming through on the page. Or I didn't know what this meant. I would like you to have another sentence or 2 about it. So it's a place where they can mark areas where a little clarification or expansion is needed. So try to be in the moment and not just like scribbling notes the entire time, because not everything said is going to be something you need to take a note on, but they might give you some pointed feedback on a couple areas. We have asked committee members if they have extensive written feedback to send that to us first, and we will get that out to you so that the interview itself is not just a feedback session, because that is not its point. But inevitably some of that comes out of it, and hopefully they are approaching this and reading it basically the same way that the National Screening Committee members will be reading. We as advisors, we've been working with you all for quite a while now. We know a lot of stuff about you that isn't in the application, about your purpose, about your mission, your goals. The committee members won't know any of that. So they'll only have access to what's on the page. And that's the same as what the actual Fulbright reviewers will have. So this is a sort of check to make sure that things are coming through in the way we actually want them to in the application. Yeah, we talked about some of this, but some things you might expect in the interview. Typically, they start with a sort of like, well, tell us what's brought you to Fulbright and what is your project? So try to have a minute or 2, a couple minute response where you can sum up what you're applying to do and why. Like, what has motivated you to do this? What are your goals to get out of it? They again might try to assess, we hope they do, try to assess your preparation for the proposed host country. So be able to talk about, what has drawn you to that country, why did you choose it, but also show that, beyond whatever your particular project and project related interest in that country is, be able to show a genuine interest in going there, caring about whatever its current events are, what its culture is like, what do you expect to be surprised by, what do you expect to be thrilled by. Just be able to talk about the country you've chosen. Again, you should have made a very intentional choice in choosing your country. Let's have that come through in the interview. How does Fulbright connect to what's next for you? What is the impact of your Fulbright award on your expected career path or your personal growth? Why is Fulbright something you want to do, and what do you hope to get out of it? Do you anticipate certain challenges? Are there either project-related challenges or cultural challenges you're prepared to talk about and sort of talk through maybe ways that you will meet those challenges, or what you're going to do between now and your potential Fulbright start date to prepare for those challenges? And then, because this new framing for this impact of Fulbright award, they really want to know basically the idea that they're pitching it as the idea that only so many of you will ever get to go on a Fulbright. Many of us won't. So why does it benefit all of us for you to go and bring that information, that knowledge back with you to the US? In what way do you hope to have to carry out a Fulbright, either values, perspectives that will inform the way you act in the world after Fulbright? We looked at those. These are also, you can access these if you just Google Fulbright Campus Committee Evaluation Form, you will find these. And so you can refer to these later if you want to know. You will not ever see this. This will be confidential from you. We will upload it to your application. So it'll be just like a letter of rec. You will not see it in your application packet that you can see, but it will be there, and you will know, like, you will see that it has been added to your application. You just won't see it. Between your interview and the actual Fulbright deadline of October 7th, you will have roughly 3 weeks to continue finalizing your application. And in fact, you can unlock your application like on September 7th or so after we've downloaded it, and continue to make changes leading up to the campus interview.
I'll actually do that. I'll go do that for
Okay. Yeah, so Bonnie will unlock your application for you after she has exported the PDF. At that point, it's back in your hands. You can continue to make changes to your essays, do whatever you want. There shouldn't really be radical changes made to the essays at this point for any of you, I would think. But continue fine-tuning is perfectly fine. But coming out of that interview, where you will get some feedback, you will have a few weeks before the campus, or before the actual Fulbright deadline, to continue polishing things, to continue making changes to your application. We'll continue to be available as advisors during that time. Reach out to us. We're happy to talk through whatever, if we weren't, like, if I sit in on if you've been working with Bonnie and I'm the one there in your interview, feel free to follow up with Bonnie and talk through how the interview went with her. Vice versa, if you're one of my students and I'm not there in the interview with you. So we're still available to advise, and you're still able to make applications leading up to the Fulbright deadline, which is on October 7th. We would encourage you to try to submit by the end of the week on October 3rd, so that there's a few extra days in there just in case. Just have a little cushion for contingency. Because once you submit, it can't be unsubmitted without, you can, but you have to send an email to IIE and get them to pull your application back out for you. You can't even
They
do that
won't
anymore.
do that anymore.
Oh, they won't. Okay,
They don't
never
have
mind.
enough people to do that. So,
Yeah.
don't do it until you're ready.
Yeah, don't submit until you're ready. But also try to have everything ready by October 3rd, because that way, if you run a little over, you're definitely ready by Monday.
I was gonna say, years ago, the Fulbright site crashed the day of. Okay, do not allow yourself to become a statistic. Okay, so.
Yeah, and they don't care. Like, they don't care if the technical issue was on their end. The deadline has passed, and that's it. Questions, concerns, thoughts? It's got to be one question between a handful of you.
No, these are all stars.
Yeah. Okay, well, none of this is scary. You've been preparing your applications for a long time. The interview is not an adversarial interview. It is not a gatekeeping interview. They do not get to decide whether you move forward with your application or not. They are not there to winnow anybody out.
Yeah.
So don't be too stressed out about it. Just meet the deadlines, keep moving forward, reach out to us as needed, and definitely let us know if you have any questions between now and September 4th. And then we'll take the interviews after that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Stop recording.